One of the questions I get a lot from people who are looking to get into self-storage is how to manage the properties once you buy them. Finding a good deal is half the battle, but then you got to manage it. You got to make sure that it's filled, and everything works out well. So I figured I would hop on here and kind of create a quick video on how I go about doing asset management. Really, once you get good management in place, like good third-party property management or on-site management, once you get that good team in place, it is pretty easy. It really comes down to one key meeting, and so your monthly performance review. So that's kind of what I wanted to go through here. What I do with my performance review, how I prepare for it, and kind of how I take the call at the beginning of the month. So let's hop into it. All right, so first let's talk about how often to meet and when do you meet. So this really depends on if you have third-party property management in place or if you have a single employee that you have to that's on site that you're working with. So for like my mobile home parks, RV parks, we have an actual on-site property manager, and for those, we generally meet with them once a week, once every other week, just to make sure that we have that touch point that they understand, that we're with them, that we're communicating with them. But for third party property management, which is what most of my self storage portfolio is managed by, that we just do a once a month meeting. And I always do that at the first week of the month for the previous month, any day, any recurring day during that first week. So for example, this is in October. So for September's performance review with a third party property management, we just had it this week. It's I do the first Tuesday of every month to review the previous month. So I just make sure and have that recurring every single month. It's just an hour-long meeting that we sit down and we get to business and kind of review how the previous month went. So once you figure out the day and time that you're going to be doing this and you got that recurring meeting scheduled, next you got to prepare for it. So you got to come prepared for these meetings. So you have, good questions for the property management. They understand that you're engaged as well. And so to prepare, I always like to start by reviewing the P&L. So I review the P&L for the previous month, and I see if there's any discrepancies, any issues that I should probably bring up. So, I look at the expense line. I see if maybe the utilities are high for some reason, a water pipe broke underground or something like that. I look at the advertising. Has it gone up? Has it gone down? Has there been contract labor? Has there been any spike in that spending? So I just go through and I look at all the P&L, all the spending, the expenses, see if there's anything there that kind of jumps out to me. And then obviously the revenue usually there's not much to call out there because it's all through your system. We use storage, so it comes through storage, and I don't know. Usually there's nothing that I can really call out there. So I really do I comb through the expenses to see if there's any questions that I can come up with from the expense line. All right, next I look through the ad campaigns that we're running. So the best way that I found to increase your occupancy for self storage facilities is Google Ads. We have an ad agency. I run an ad agency as well for real estate, and so we run our own ads, and it's my favorite way to increase occupancy. And so before these meetings, I always go in and I check the ads to make sure they're doing well. I'll go ahead and share my screen here. One second. All right. So yeah, I go into Google Ads. This is the ad campaign. It's amazing how little money you actually need to spend to increase your occupancy for self storage. Um, I always go in here and look at the recommendations to see if there's anything we want to do. So I haven't done it yet this month. So there's probably stuff I need to get in here to do. But usually they want you to increase the budget. Like, see, these all say limited by budget. This is for one of our smaller storage facilities out kind of in the middle of the nowhere. And we're doing pretty well with occupancy here, and so I don't want to increase the budget for these facilities, but I always go in here and I check to make sure or the marketing is working and that everything is going the way we want. And then also I forgot to note in the last section, when I go through the P&L or any of these things that I'm talking about, I always get a OneNote and I start taking notes. for that facility. I have like one of these sections for every facility. And I just go through and I put the projects that we're working on, the operations. Do I have any questions there? The expenses. When I look through the expenses, what questions pop up, I write them here. Occupancy, marketing, and rates, I put them here, and then the notes. Um, yeah. So once we're done with the marketing, we move over to the um, the actual management software. And so for self storage, it's storage for us. And when I get into storage or whatever software you're using, the first thing I look at is occupancy. I always keep a mental note of where the occupancy is for each facility. This is a really small facility we own out in the DFW area. And so it usually hovers around the same occupancy. It's kind of out there in a rural location. So I always take note of the occupancy and then the unrentable and the vacant. Um, and then I look at the delinquent here. I'll look at it more in depth, but just to kind of get myself prepared for the more in depth review I'll do, I just kind of take note of those things. And then I go over here and I look at units. So we just saw that there's 10 unrentable. I go over here to units and I just kind of look at what notes we're taking for each unrentable unit. If there's any questions that I have for those unrentable units, I go ahead and take note of it in my sheet over here. For when we actually get into the meeting, I can easily reference this and ask questions. And then I go to the management review. So again, we use storage. I used to use ESS, and I like ESS a lot more than storage. The management company that I use, they use storage, and so when I moved over to them, they require that we use their same software. I'm not a fan. So if you guys, I don't know, storage is just clunky in my opinion, but that's what we use. So I go over to here to reports. I go to management summary, and then I click the last day of the month that we're looking at. So we're looking at September, and then I generate a report. I actually had it open already. So and then I wait for that to pop up. Give it a second. Boom. All right. So once it's up, first thing I look at is net rentals. How do we do? Do we have a positive move-in rate? Do we have a negative move-in rate? Last month, we did have a -1 month to date. We actually just moved over to this software. I had switched management companies and we moved over to the software recently. So this is not an accurate year to date number. I think this is over 2 months, 3 months ago we moved, something like that. But last month it was a negative. And so that's a question that I'll have. Why do we have a negative move out rate? It looks like there was one move in and two move out and one reservation, which is reasonable. But that's just something, I'll take note of. If I have questions, I'll ask. I look at the insurance protection rate. So we're at 90% here, 90% insured. And that's good. And so we want to keep it above that, 90% rate. And then again, for the actual P&L, for the actual receipts, I look in the P&L. That's my kind of, I would prefer to look at the revenue from a actual QuickBooks versus what the storage says, because that's money that's coming to my account. And then what was the other question that or something that I was gonna bring up? Delinquencies. I always look at delinquencies to see how much we have and where we need to be. And then I always look at the occupancy, and specifically the economic occupancy, because this will tell us it'll tell me how far away we are from where we think the market rates are. We're at a 60% economic occupancy, which is pretty low at this facility. But again, it's a rural location. And so I'm more concerned with the physical occupancy here than the economic occupancy. We give quite a few discounts here. So anyways, that's how I prepare. I have all the questions over here on the side sheet here. So when I actually get into the meeting, I'll have this up, my storage management software. All my questions will be ready over here on the left side. And then I'll just start the meeting off and I'll ask them, here, let me take this off. Yeah, so I'll start the meeting off. We do the pleasantries thing, ask how weeks are going, all that kind of stuff, and then I'll ask them for an overview in their words of how the facility's going, or how the operations are going at the facility. Go down each facility one by one. How's it going at Millsap? How's it going at Toller? How's it going at Lawrence? Yada yada yada. And so we go down each facility, how's it going, what's going on, ask for highlights. And then I'll go into all of the different questions that I have. Once they give me their overview, if you know, a lot of my questions will have been answered in their response. And then the ones that haven't been answered, I ask, you know, what's this line item here in the expense sheet? You know, can you give me a little bit more light there? You know, occupancy, we lost the unit last month. I took a look at the Google ads. They're doing really well. What have you guys been seeing on the call center side? That kind of stuff. And so, yep, then we'll just go through everything and we'll wrap it up. And that's how I do my asset management. Yeah, if you guys have any questions, let me know. As I said, we do marketing for anybody, you know, everybody in real estate, from self storage facilities to RV parks to, you know, flippers who want to get more buyers, to hard money lenders. If you're in real estate, we do marketing. So if you guys need help generating leads for your real estate business, let us know. Other than that, if you have questions about what I went over in this video, I'd be happy to, you know, kind of help you create your own process. Just get a link. You'll find a link here, and you can reserve or book a call with me. Um, yeah. So good luck out there, guys, and I'll see you on the next video.